Okay, so this is the parrot.ai file that you'll be working with for your homework. This is how it naturally opened up in mine. If I come over to my tools panel on the left-hand side, I can double click on the hand and bring it up to full screen. And I'm not going to look back at the assignment, so I might be doing this in a different order than it says in the assignment, but that's okay. I just want to get through the basics of this for you. So um, hopefully you can see here these little light blue lines. These are the guidelines. Um, I can turn those off and on here. Hide guides would make them disappear, and going back to view and saying guides, show guides would make them appear. So I want you to the work we're going to do up top here, have to keep it inside those lines. The little black dots that you see here are for my printer, so you may or may not have those on yours. Don't worry about them. All right. So the homework says when you're on the selection tool here, we're going to get rid of the stars first. So you can just click on one and hit the delete key on your computer and it will go away. Alternatively, you can drag across two of them if you wanted to. Because the background is locked, if the background was not locked, you would not be able to do that because you would be selecting the background as well. Um, so if you're concerned about that, you can just select one again and hit delete, and select one again and hit delete. And up top here, we're going to put our names. So I am going to click on the type tool and click in here, and it automatically fills it in with some lorem ipsum text, which we'll learn about in a later chapter. And I believe it says all caps, so I'm going to type my name, Emily Hansen. There we go. It's very tiny. You can hardly see it. I'm going to switch back to my selection tool, and I'm going to go over here to my properties panel on the right-hand side. And I'm just going to make it bigger, first of all. Let's see, how about 72 for now? Sure, that looks good. And then I'm going to change the font to something else that I want to change it to. Let's see. I'm scrolling through here. You can see that it's showing me different ways for it to be. If you're not going to do too much with it, this might be an okay font, but it is a little bit difficult to read. So do try to keep this legible for the homework. There, I can read that one, and it's kind of funky. So I'm bringing this here. I want to make sure that it's inside these blue guidelines, like I said. So if I want to, I could drag it a little bit bigger. I'm just holding onto the edge here and dragging it. If you want to keep it even or in proportion, you can hold down the Shift key. Otherwise, you can just do whatever you like with it. And then the next thing is to put an effect on it. So we're going to the Effect drop-down menu here and Warp, and we're picking one of these warps. Let's see, which one shall I pick? I will pick Flag. And that does this little wave to it here. Once the warp options pop up, I can choose one of the other ones, so you can play around with them and see which one you like best. I always think that the fish is kind of cute. And then it has options below it as well, so if you want to play around with it more, you can, and do that kind of stuff. When you're done, hit OK. Check that it's still within the guidelines here. Some of you might have picked one that has made it larger than the guidelines. If that's the case, you want to shrink it back down. I don't want your name touching the edge of the project, okay? Next, we're going to play around a little bit with the parrot itself. Um, if I click on the parrot, it is a whole entire group. So anything that I do right now is going to affect the whole thing. You can see if I make it fatter like that, it affects the whole thing. If you want to affect individual pieces without learning about grouping and layers and all that kind of stuff, then you can just go to the next tool here, which is the direct selection tool, and you can actually select individual pieces. So for example, I can select this purple piece here, the lavender, and you can see when I click on one of the anchor point dots, it actually brings up these handles. So I can play around and make that a little bit funky if I want to. Not required. It's one of those kind of extra things that I talk about in the grading. So if you're just trying to keep it simple, get your basic, good enough kind of grade for a B. You don't have to play around with those kind of things. Um, but it is one of the options that you can come in here and try out. Um, there is no wrong really in in this necessarily, as long as you get the steps done that I asked you all to get done. You can definitely just play around with things and have some fun with it. Change some of the colors. So if I select on the red of his head, for example, here, I can come over to the fill on the right-hand side in the properties panel and change it to something else. There's lots of gradients in here. I could change it to a gradient if I want, or a pattern, or just a different color. I can pick some more stuff here. There's his red chest. Could take that one and make it into some stripes. Um, I can zoom in if you want to get closer and see it better, depending on your screen size. You can actually click on the little magnifying glass over here and get zoomed in a bit so you can see things. Again, all of these are clickable upon, so you could come in here and mess around with pieces if you want to. Take them out, move them around. This little stick, I could change the end of this. Oops, I didn't mean to move it. If all 4 anchor points here are blue, it moves the whole thing. But if I click on one and get the rest of them to be white, I can actually change the ends of it that way if I want to. Now it kind of looks like he's flying on a little broom or something. um, so, keep playing around with that kind of stuff. Changing the colors. Let's see, let's make this one purple. And does this have a stroke on it? Let's see. I can put a stroke on it if I want to. I can change the color of the stroke to something else like that. Then I can come down here to the fall 2015, sorry. And I can just, if you double click into that, it will become a line that you can actually change the text. So you need to change that to spring 2018. Again, if you want to make it super fancy, you can select it and come over here and change the font as well to something else. You can see, again, this is getting close to the edge. So if you do that, try to move it back over so it's not getting cut off. And then here comes the tricky part. These will get you some of your final up to 20 points if you can manage these things. Behind the properties panel here on the right hand side, there's the layers panel. And in there, you'll notice the last 2 layers are locked. That is the background layer and your Adobe Illustrator text on the left hand side. So if I unlock those, now I can change these 2 things. So Illustrator, I can select it, go back over here, change the font, again to something else. You can try to make something pretty and make sure your fonts match, or you can go crazy and just pick random crazy fonts all over the place, whatever you like. Can fill that up a bit. Oops, my stroke is making it hard to read. Try to keep things legible if you can. And then for the background, I can click on that now, and I can pick a different fill for it. There are, like I said, lots of patterns here. This pattern, for example, makes it so that I cannot read the name up top. If you love this pattern, if you have to have this pattern, then you're going to need to go and change your name, which is fine. So I could come back up here and select my name and maybe change that to be white so I can see it. Yeah. Um, if I wanted to get really fancy and try to pop my name out even further, I can select it again here and try to give it a stroke so that it stands out a little bit from the background. Usually a darker stroke helps. There's maybe black, make it pop out a little bit. If I wanted to keep going with that, I could maybe just make it bigger. Let's see, make it a little bit bigger, and I could go up to the effects menu, and I could give it a drop shadow. Again, none of this stuff is required. It's just stuff that you can play around with. Things like drop shadows, messing with the background a bit more, playing around with these to get yourself some funky shapes, are all things that'll get you to your last point. So just consider doing some of those things. And oops, now I did the top, but I forgot that I can't read the bottom. So this is maybe not a good pattern to use for your background, again, unless you're really, really interested in it. But I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to select my text down at the bottom, and I'm going to make sure that it's white. That one has a green stroke on it, so I'm going to have to take the stroke and make that white as well, so it stands out better. And again, we want to put a drop shadow on these. So part of the thing in artwork is, trying to make it legible. So always consider that. Where'd my drop shadow go? There we go. So that helps. I can read that. Back this up a little bit so you guys can see it. And that's basically it. Looks done enough for me, so I'm going to take it up here to File and go down to Export, Save for Web Legacy. If you do two up, you can see your original versus this. You want to make sure this is still legible again. So when you're done, open it up before you upload it and check it to make sure that the text is legible. And you can save it as a JPEG or a PNG. With this much detail, you probably don't want to save it as a GIF. But JPEGs are good, and even like very high JPEGs or high are good enough for our homework. Again, just try to make sure this stuff in here is legible. Um, I'm using the Command Control Plus key to zoom in here a little bit so I can see if it's legible enough. And it looks like it is. I could always say type optimized if I wanted to. See if that helped. All right, and then I would say save, and you save it wherever you need to save it. I'm just going to save mine to my desktop. Call it Parrot JPEG, and I'm going to call mine 2019 so I don't lose track of it, and save it, and then upload it to your homework. All right. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to email me and ask me for advice before you turn in your homework. That's okay by me. All right. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye.